What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Johnny K Picks. In this video, I'm going to break down my picks and predictions for UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. So for this week, I'm going to get back on track with my usual format, so be on the lookout for my bets video that'll be posted later this week. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the recap of UFC Vegas 44, Font versus Aldo. Alright, so for my lackluster picks here, I went 1-4. Yeah, no bueno. The lone pick that I did get right, though, was Fiziev. So to me, that fight was the fight of the night. Both fighters' striking was super on point that night. And every strike that they threw for 100%. So you can't ask for a better fight than that. And then especially the way that it ended and Fiziev landed that spinning wheel kick. Yep, that's fight of the night for me right there. Okay, so for the bad picks. Here we go. So this is the second time that Chris Curtis proved me wrong, and I guess I'm just going to have to respect his power because this guy has one punch power that can pretty much knock out anybody, I'm thinking now. I mean, he already knocked out Hawes, he just knocked out Allen, and he looked like he was losing both fights until that one punch that wobbled Allen, and then he went down like a sack of potatoes again. So I don't know, maybe it wasn't Hawes, so I guess I can't really fault Hawes for losing. Honestly, I still don't think Curtis is that great, but like I said, you gotta give credit where credit's due. I'm gonna start respecting his power punch, mind you. And yeah, let's see what happens with his next fight. And in the Santos-Guida fight, this fight was a little weird for me. I know I picked Santos, and I really think that fight should have been stopped by the ref. I don't know what he was thinking, because Santos was raining down punches and kicks and knees to the point where Guida wasn't even doing anything. And then, for whatever reason, he got back up, he let him back up, got his mouthpiece back in the fight, and then it was just completely 180 fight after that. I knew Santos was going to lose once that happened, and he did. So that was kind of a weird fight for me. I do think it should have been stopped, but what are you going to do? You're not a ref. Alright, and the Jimmy Crute fight, yeah. Jamal Hill has one punch power too, and he destroyed Crute. I knew he was going to have the striking edge in that fight, but I did not think he was going to win like that. That was pretty impressive. I'll give Hill that. And Font versus Aldo, it just wasn't Font's night. Aldo's legit. I think I probably overlooked him just a little bit. I didn't think his cardio was going to last longer than 2 or 3 rounds, but he ended up surprising me, and he was actually looking pretty good in the 3rd and 4th round. He did start slowing down in the 5th, but he just kept hurting Font with a 1-2 punch right in the face, and Font couldn't figure it out for whatever reason, and he ended up losing that fight fair and square. Okay, so now we got all that out of the way, so let's get to my picks and predictions for UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. So the first fight we have is Sean O'Malley versus Raulian Paiva. O'Malley is 14-1, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach. And Paiva is 21-3, 26 years old, 5'8", with a 69.5-inch reach. Okay, so to kick off the main card, we're going to have a striker versus striker showdown here. And with my pick, I'm going to say that O'Malley's going to win this one. Paiva averages 4.24 strikes per minute with a 43% accuracy versus O'Malley's 8.25 strikes per minute with a 62% accuracy. And defense-wise, Paiva absorbs 4.90 strikes per minute with a 50% defense versus O'Malley's 3.59 strikes absorbed with a 65% defense. So going by those stats, O'Malley has the clear striking advantage, and I 100% agree with that. I think O'Malley is by far the more technical striker. He's great at striking off his back foot. He likes to keep his range to use his kicks. He uses them very well. He likes to mix things up with his hands, elbows. He has every strike possible that you can think of. Though I will say Paiva is also a very good striker as well. I just think he's just one step below O'Malley's striking. I don't think this fight's going to go to the mat, but if it does, Paiva's takedown defense is 75% compared to O'Malley's 60% takedown defense. And another thing to note here, Paiva is moving up in a division. He usually is at 125, so I'm not exactly sure how he's going to look in this division. I don't know if his power is going to transfer over, but I know one thing, O'Malley's power is going to be there. So he's going to have to make sure he doesn't get clipped a couple times, otherwise it's going to be a short night for him. The way I see this fight break going down is I think O'Malley is eventually just going to piece him up. I don't think he's going to be able to get him out of there in the first round or anything, but I do think that there's going to be a finish, and it's probably going to be in the second or third round. So with my pick, I'm going to say that O'Malley wins by knockout. Okay, so next fight we have is Kai Kara-France versus Cody Garbrandt. Kara-France is 22-9, 28 years old, 5'4", with a 66.5-inch reach. And Garbrandt is 12-4, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 65.5-inch reach. Alright, so honestly, this is one of the fights that I'm really looking forward to, and I think it's going to be very close, and I kept going back and forth. And finally, I decided to choose Kara-France to win this one. Kara-France averages 5.02 strikes per minute with a 39% accuracy versus Garbrandt's 3.17 strikes per minute with a 38% accuracy. And in the striking defense department, Kara-France absorbs 3.84 strikes per minute with a 66% defense versus Garbrandt's 4.14 strikes absorbed with a 61% defense. So the stats tell you right there that Garbrandt gets hit a little bit more than what he dishes out, and that's never ever a good sign. Looking back at a couple of his fights, he is pretty hittable. He is dangerous though with his hands though if he connects, but he kind of leaves his head out there a little too much for my liking, and he's very hittable, like I said. Another thing that I noticed with Cody Garbrandt is he does tend to slow down a bit as the fight goes on. I'm not sure if that's going to play a big part in this fight, but you never know. So again, with this fight, I don't think it's going to hit the mat, but if it does, both fighters have really good takedown defense. So I don't think that each fighter is going to want to try to mess around with trying to take one another down. They're going to save their cardio because they're just going to stand and bang in this fight. And another thing to note here, this is Cody Garbrandt's first fight moving down a division to the flyweight. So again, not sure how that's going to play a factor or not in this fight. It might affect his cardio a bit because he's going to have to cut down a little bit more than he usually would. So just something to think about there. And like I said, I do think this is going to be a very close fight, but I do think that Kara-France has the slight edge in striking and speed, and he does have the power to knock out Cody, because Cody has been wobbled a few times lately. He hasn't been knocked out, but he's been wobbled. So the way I see his fight ending is I think it's going to go to decision. It might even be a split decision, but I do think Kara-France is going to outland Cody in the end and get the decision. So with my pick, I'm going to say Kara-France wins by decision. Okay, so moving on up the card, we have Jeff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Neal is 13-4, 31 years old, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach. And Santiago is 28-4, 35 years old, 6 foot, with a 73-inch reach. Okay, so I'm sure that you guys have seen the articles and you noticed that Neal just recently got arrested for a DWI and weapons charges. But for now, the fight's still supposedly supposed to be going on still, so we'll look into that a little bit later here. But again, I was going back and forth with this one, and ultimately I decided that I'm going to pick Santiago to win this one. Neal averages 4.42 strikes per minute with a 48% accuracy versus Santiago's 4.65 strikes per minute and a 40% accuracy. In striking defense, Neal absorbs 4.68 strikes per minute with a 62% defense versus Santiago's 4.38 strikes absorbed with a 63% defense. So going by those stats, both fighters are very close, very similar, and I do think both fighters can have success on the feet. The one thing that I will say is Neal likes to stay his distance, and he does his best work when he can stay at range. So if Santiago can just get in his face a little bit more, clinch up with him every now and then, get him to the fence, that's not what Neal wants to do. He doesn't like that. So that's my path to victory for Santiago is make it a dirty fight. Get close to him, use your elbows, clinch up with them. If you have to take him down, maybe you can take him down. But that's the way to beat Neal in this fight. And I think if he can do that, he can easily get a decision here. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Neal's head's going to be in this fight, especially with all the legal trouble he just got in. Because honestly, if I was him, this fight would be the last thing that's on my mind right now. I know he has a contract to fulfill, and if he's not in jail, he's going to probably fight this fight. But I honestly think he's going to have too much on his plate. So I really think Santiago has the edge in that category, little intangible right there. So with my pick here, like I said, it's going to be a close fight, but I do think Santiago is going to win by decision. All right, so we got co-main event time here. We have Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Nunes is 21-4, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. And Pena is 10-4, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. All right, guys, hot take here. Get ready. I'm going to say Nunes wins this one, and it's not even going to be close. But I'll do my due diligence here. I'll go over some stats just to make you guys happy. Nunes averages 4.50 strikes per minute with a 51% accuracy versus Pena's 2.80 strikes per minute with a 47% accuracy. So if you didn't already know, yes, Nunes has the better striking, and she is definitely the better striker. And both fighters average about 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 53% takedown accuracy for both. But Nunes' takedown defense is 84% compared to Pena's 23% takedown defense. So yeah, if you didn't already know, again, Nunes is definitely the better grappler, definitely the better wrestler, and definitely the better submission artist. So if Nunes wants to take down Pena, she can do it whenever she wants. And I'll be honest, I just don't see a path to victory for Pena here, unless it's something fluky. Maybe Nunes gets hurt somehow. I don't know. But I just don't see a way that Pena's going to either outstrike Nunes or submit her. Because she's not going to win a decision, I can tell you that right now. I do think Nunes is going to finish this fight. It might be in the second or third round. And I don't know if it's going to be by KO or submission. So I'm going to lean towards KO. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a club and sub. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that Nunes is going to win this by knockout. Alrighty, so we got main event time here. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me. Okay, so we have Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. Oliveira is 31-8, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. And Poirier is 28-6, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. Alright, so let's be real. This is the fight that everybody's been waiting for. And let's be honest, both of these guys you really want to root for. And they both had their ups and downs in their careers. But sadly, only one man can win. And I am going to choose Poirier to win this fight. But I will say I'm not very confident in that pick though, because I do see a couple paths to victory for each of them. So this fight is going to be a really good fight. It's going to be close. Oliveira averages 3.26 strikes per minute with a 52% accuracy versus Poirier's 5.62 strikes per minute and a 50% accuracy. I will say that I do think Poirier has the striking advantage, but that doesn't mean that Oliveira's striking is bad because it has improved. He does have power. If you go back and watch the Chandler fight that he won the belt on, his striking looked really good. He did get clipped once, but he recovered really quick, and then he ended up clipping Chandler as well. So in the grappling department, Oliveira definitely has the edge in my book. He averages 2.64 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 44% takedown accuracy. And Poirier's takedown defense is only 61%. So Poirier's going to have to really try to keep his distance and stay at range. I do think he can hold his own on the ground, but I don't think he can do it for too long. So he's not going to want to play with fire when he's down on the ground. So the best thing he needs to do is just keep his distance, stay on the outside, and just keep picking him apart. I will say, though, I do think Oliveira's best chance to win the fight is going to be early, whether that's in the first or second round. If he can potentially clip Dustin, but I think the path to victory that he's going to win this fight is by submission. So if Dustin can stay on his feet and survive the first 2 rounds, I believe, I think he's going to slowly pull away from Oliveira in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round if it gets that far. Also, another thing you got to remember, Poirier has been in wars, man. He's fought Gaethje, he's fought Alvarez, he's fought numerous top-level guys in the lightweight division. And he knows what it takes to be a champion. Yeah, I know he's only been an interim champion once, but he definitely wants this belt. And he has all the heart and the will to be a champion. And that's just another factor that I'm factoring in my decision, because not to say that Oliveira doesn't have any heart or will, but I just think Poirier, it just oozes off him. It's weird. You know that if you look at him, you know he's a champion. And he should be a champion. And then the way I see this fight playing out is I do think Poirier is going to survive the first round and the second round. He might get taken down once, but I think he's going to be able to either get to the next round, or he's going to be able to get up. And I think he's going to realize after the first time he gets taken down, like, he does not want to do that again. So he's going to stay on the outside. He's going to pick them apart. He's just going to jab them and use his low kicks. And eventually I do think he's going to get Oliveira. He's going to clip him a couple times here. And I don't know if he's going to be able to knock him out, but I'm going to say that Poirier is going to win this fight by decision. Alright guys, so those are my picks and predictions for UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. Sorry for the short video this week. I'm still a little sick from last week. I don't know what it is. So if I sound a little weird, it's just me being sick, so don't worry about anything. I'm all good. But if you enjoyed my content, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, if you're on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at Johnny K Picks. I usually post my bets and I live tweet during the fights every week. Also, make sure you're on the lookout for my bets video that I'll be posting later this week with my UFC 269 bets. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend. I know I will. And happy fight night.